That's right. What up, cyberspace cadets? It's Sunday, and you know what that means. That's time for some ice cream, because ice cream Sundays are always a treat. And a good treat to me is talking to somebody that I'm interested in, and just like, just want to hang out with and see what happens. Right. And today's guest is no exception. I've been in some streams with this dude. But we never really got a chance to like just hang out and talk, one-on-one like this. And that's what I love about this show. That's why I call it ice cream, because it's a huge treat for me to just hang out and just meet and talk to people. I love people, always have. And, so I figured, hell, let's try to do something with this, man. So, and today's guest is known as the Hate Camel.
Yeah, it's like a Tribe Called Quest. You gotta say it all together.
Hate Camel.
It's actually funny. I dropped the.
Right.
Well, I noticed when I first started getting on streams with people, that would come up as the only thing, like when I was talking, which who's the? I guess I need to drop that.
Right. All right. So the way. All right. I didn't really explain this part to you. So I've got some questions written down, and chat. Okay. First of all, what's up, chat? We'll say it to some people in the chat. Tourish, K-Shaw, Johnny Hellcat, of course. You're the Robin to your Batman, Hate Camel.
Well, if you guys don't like this stream, if you don't find me entertaining, just blame Johnny. It's all his fault.
That's right. The Marie to your Donnie. Oh, I'm glad that was funny. All right, Sir Adamantine, greetings. Uzi Q, of course, my one and only out there, carrying the load for all y'all when you're not listening to me. Trust me, she gets all of it. Dog. Skip Talk, Negative Kelvin. Hey man, that sounds like a cold temperature, Negative Kelvin. But anyway, and Philip Daniel, of course, greetings, sir. And with that in mind, we need to tell the chat that if you've got any questions, you want me to put forward to the Hate Camel himself, Hate Camel. Just do it in the chat when I ask you towards the end. I'll make some time, and you just pop them in. So just jot them down while we're doing this, and let's have some fun, man. I've got some questions I'm going to ask you, Camel.
Shoot.
All right, man. All right, let me make sure I've got my. I don't want to, man. I boomer shit all the time, so I'm trying to keep it to the boomer factor to a bare minimum if I can. If you understand what I'm saying. Okay, so all right. So the first question I always ask everybody is, how long have you been around YouTube? What made you come to YouTube, and then what made you start streaming? What gave you the?
Originally, I was on YouTube probably early 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna say I was like sitting there from the beginning or nothing. Like somebody told me about it, and it was just a place where I would go to listen to music and watch stand-up comedy.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, it was like what, 3 years? Because it started in 2007. So yeah, that's right.
So I've been a late adopter to everything.
Right.
So like for the longest time, it was just I'll go over here. I'll listen to a bunch of different songs I want to listen to, and then maybe I'll see if I can find some stand-up comedy from a comedian I want to listen to.
Right.
And then it wasn't until about, let's see, I think I found Ranting Monkey and the Lords of the Night crew late 2016.
Right. It's about when I did.
And I remember, because Scribe was still doing the ads, and yes. I sent a super chat without knowing that he would make an ad on the spot for it. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, this is cool. And it was shortly after then that I got a Twitter account because, you know, it's like a bunch of different YouTubers like, hey, best way to get in contact's on Twitter. And it's like, well, you know, these people have been providing me with free entertainment, so maybe I can, you know, provide them something in kind.
Indeed.
You know, point something out to them that maybe they find interesting, or make a joke that, you know, they get a little humor out of. You know. And I got on Twitter, I think, early 2017. And then, so over the summer, Johnny and I got going back and forth about Nanette. And he invited me to do a stream with him and a couple other people. And he keeps sending me links, and I don't know why. and that's pretty much how we got here.
I was going to ask you who Nanette was.
The Hannah Gadsby stand-up comedy that was, you know, decidedly not funny. That's how we got started with the torture streams of watching bad stand-up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. You know, oh Lord. So, what's the idea behind why I hate Camel? Why?
It was a Bill Hicks line, a comedian from the late 80s, early 90s. And I found him in high school, which was in the mid 2000s. So he'd already been dead like a decade.
Right.
And he had that Texas twang to his voice that I mistook him originally for Bill Engvall.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, because he was just talking about himself in the third person in one of his jokes, and said, "Well, why do you want to go and say that, Bill?" I was like, "Wow, Bill Engvall really got some balls. What happened?" I was like, "Oh no, this dude's been dead for a while." I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
Right.
And there was a line in one of his jokes about how much people suck and how much he hates them. I'm the hate camel. You know, once a year I fill my hump of hate. You know, and I was like, "Yeah, I can appreciate that sentiment."
And it carries you through the year.
Yeah. Also, I always kind of like the idea of the camel because I'll get obsessive about something and I'll dive deep into it, and then I'll get bored and I'll move on to something else, and you know, maybe I'll come back to it, but I can go extended periods of time without looking at something that I used to be fascinated by. Right, and also, I'm a cigarette smoker, and Joe Camel's always been a favorite of mine, so that just all kind of came together in those three things.
The one thing I always wanted to know about Joe Camel was, is his nose supposed to be a penis? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. There's kind of a phallic thing going on there.
A little bit.
You know what I'm saying? Is it one of those deals, right? You know, you've heard like a Disney, you know, drawing all these penises and all these weird symbols in the backgrounds and shit. I just, you know.
I never dove that deep on Joe Camel. When you asked for the image, I was like, I just pulled it off an image search like 2.5. I looked at the properties on the image. I was like, yeah, I downloaded this in like December of 2018. Dude.
Yeah, man. It's like I'm trying to get real Joe Rogan with the Joe Camel thing.
No, I just you know, being a kid growing up in the early 90s and stuff, I still remember when you had cigarette advertising, and
me too.
You know, Joe Camel was always my favorite. I remember, like, you know, NASCAR was the Winston Cup.
Yeah.
You know, you had guys who would literally, like, during caution laps, they just, you know, sit in their car driving around the track, like, smoking a cigarette. So, but yeah, that's you know, that was my fascination. And then I was like, oh, it's Joe Camel dressed up in Uncle Sam's. Like, I'm taking that one.
Right.
Because, I mean, who does like a little patriotism with their nicotine?
Yeah, no doubt, dude. No doubt. I kind of like it. You made it work really good, I thought.
Well, also, like, I just like the way that he's sitting there pointing at, you know, was that D.L. Hughley books, like, where he's dressed up like Uncle Sam, says, "I want you to shut the fuck up."
Yes. Man. So, so the persona that you present when you're online, like, how much would you say of that is real you?
All of it. I mean, aside from seeing my facial expressions, nothing much is really changing. I might be a bit more hyperbolic online, just for yucks.
Right.
But generally, if I'm presenting you with an opinion or thought that I don't genuinely hold, I'll tell you as soon as I'm done making a joke about it. It's like, I don't actually believe that that's just trying to be funny.
Got you. All right, now we move into the question that I ask everybody, and the answer is never the same. Is there a food from your childhood that you loved or that you hated? All right, and now as an adult you love? I've favored it, so
I wouldn't say there's one that I've grown to love or anything, but I can tolerate my vegetables a lot better now that I'm an adult than I could when I was a kid.
Right.
It used to be like pulling teeth, and now like if you set like some like broccoli and cheese sauce, or even some Brussels sprouts, put some butter and salt on it, I'm good to go.
I feel you.
As long as you got like a nice nice chunk of meat sitting there to pair it with, I'm happy.
Some all American shit there, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
exactly. All right, so so who would you say was the most influential person from your childhood? And what kind of kid were you?
Yeah, most influential, man. There's a whole bunch of different stuff I was influenced by when I was growing up. You had pro wrestling. I was big into that until I was probably in my teenage years. You had the Monday Night Wars, WWF and WCW, and
Right.
flipping back and forth during the commercial breaks between USA and TNT. Chuck Norris was huge in the '90s too. Walker Texas Ranger, and he still had some movies like Sidekicks and stuff. I remember loving those. You had some just good old fashioned like '90s action. Just shut your brain off and watch the explosions, or watch dudes getting kicked in the face kind of movies.
Yes, that's a dude thing, I believe, man. We dig to turn off our brain. We want to watch shit explode, and people beat the fuck out of each other.
I remember like Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and had a bit of Steven Seagal before he just got, like, even as a kid, it's like, okay, this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm supposed to buy Steven Seagal sitting in an Alaskan oil town with Michael Caine being the big bad. I'm not buying this.
Yeah, it's not the way we see it.
I thought it was hilarious. Like, he was doing the hand slap game with the dude from Dumb and Dumber.
What about the series he did later?
Once I grew out of pro wrestling, I pretty well grew out of Steven Seagal too. It's like, no, that's one of those things where you can't go home again.
No, man, exactly. It's like Kelly LeBrock's about the best thing he ever did. Just saying.
Like my favorite scene from a Steven Seagal movie had nothing to do with Steven Seagal and everything to do with that chick from Playboy popping out of the cake.
I know. Erica Elianak. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, because I could not pronounce her name to save my life.
Yes. See, man, you remember a great set of tits. Just saying.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember the tits. I don't remember the name.
Exactly. But I can draw those tits right now. All right, so kind of moving on. So what kind of kid were you? Were you goofwad or?
I was kind of clownish. For me, I grew up not with a lot of kids around my own age, so it was mostly growing up around older people. I was the oldest of three. And I spent a lot of time around like my grandparents, my mom and her friends, go and see my dad and his family. But it wasn't until I got to be school age that I was really around people my own age. So by then I was already kind of over childhood.
Right.
It's like, okay, this. I mean, it was cool not having to pay taxes or go to work, but aside from that, I was like, I don't see the appeal,
Right. So you were drawn really by comedy.
Movies, comedy. I like comedic movies. I was big Jim Carrey fan when I was a little kid. The Mask and Ace Ventura and all that.
So were you like the class clown then at times?
At times, yeah. It was really difficult for me to be too much of a class clown because small town living. Uh, Back in the '90s, you still had corporal punishment, and I got sent to the principal's office more than a few times for disturbing class, and I got a paddling. So I try to keep that in check. It was really hilarious. My mom would always go to parent teacher conferences, and she'd come back like, "They're not talking about you. There's no way. No." You know, what do you mean he's quiet? Kid never shuts up.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
She said that the biggest mistake
You're
she
one of
made in
those.
raising.
Gotcha. Go
She
ahead.
said the biggest mistake she said raising me and my sisters was teaching us how to walk and talk.
Yeah.
Because then had to feed them and keep an eye on them so they didn't run off.
So I had an uncle tell my cousin, he said, "You know what? We spent the first year of your life teaching you to walk and talk, and now we're spending the rest of your life teaching you to shut up and sit down."
Yep, pretty much.
He was funny as hell. Crazy old dude. Anyway, so if do you have like, all right, so what about a holiday? We got Christmas coming up. What is there any kind of season or something timely that sparks you or makes you puts you in the spirit of the holiday, whatever it be, not necessarily Christmas or New Year's or whatever.
I'd probably say, I mean, if we're picking like a favorite holiday time of year, it's probably Halloween for me.
Mm-hmm.
You got that because end of October in Oklahoma, it's not necessarily getting cold yet.
Right.
So it could be nice weather, the leaves are starting to change, and then you just try and I just really try to enjoy it because I know that as soon as the calendar changes to November 1st, I'm gonna be just inundated with Christmas shit.
Right.
It's like, so the month of October, I really try to enjoy like all the spooky and the horror movies and everything, get my fill, and almost like getting ready to hibernate through the winter and dealing with all the holly jolly bullshit.
Yeah.
Because as much as I appreciate the season of peace and joy, I wish there would be some more peace and quiet to it.
Right. Well, fair enough.
I don't need to hear all the different musicians with their rendition of the same 12 or 13 Christmas songs.
That's true.
And what's really bad is like the area I live in, we only have a select few radio stations, and it's mostly country music. And then you have like classic rock and maybe one top 40 station. And so I don't want to hear U2's version of White Christmas or Elton John singing Little Drummer Boy. I don't know.
Right.
Like I want to listen to classic rock, not classic Christmas rock.
So this is Christmas. All right. So what about this? So if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the age of 8, what would you tell little Camel?
Don't start smoking. Instead, invest that money that you're gonna just burn through in something worthwhile, like stocks or I'm sure it's probably really hacky, but buy Bitcoin. It's nice, simple.
Right.
Do something with your money to make it earn money. Don't just waste it. Because I'm a very impulsive person.
Right. So what kind of grades did you pull?
Depending on the subject, I was a B student. When you average it out, B plus.
Right.
I had some that I was just kicking ass and taking names in, like history, social studies. I did fairly well in English, which you couldn't tell it by looking at my online presence. But science, I was pretty well A plus, A minus science student, and then math just dragged me down. I was scraping by with like C minuses, C pluses.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's kind of sounds like me. To be honest with you, similar kind of deal. Um, So you're big on history.
I wouldn't say that I'm big on it. I would say that I'm big on the parts that I find interesting. You know, like I loved growing up in the time that I did because the History Channel was all like World War II and ancient Rome and the Greeks and stuff like that when I was growing up watching it. And you know, as I got older, it became like ice road truckers and ancient aliens and American pickers, and I was like, I don't give a shit about any of this. You know, show me the stuff that's blowing up.
Right, exactly. You give me the flashbang.
Show me the atrocities. Don't show me a 3D rendition of how you think the aliens built the pyramids for the 30th time.
Ah, you want to see the wreck thread, right?
Yeah. That's another thing. Like growing up, going to school, like I remember that was a transition from like learning like the Dewey Decimal System to learning like computers. Was when I was in grade school, and you know we'd have computer time, and immediately you had kids playing video games or kids looking up the most gruesome shit they could find on the internet.
Yeah.
and I oscillated back and forth between the two camps. So like, oh well, I'm gonna go look at rotten.com today, and tomorrow I'll go play putt golf on Candyland or whatever it's called.
God, I remember those days. I see. I was an adult back then, so I had no excuse for not, looking at the rotten.com. Shit, right? All right. So, what was middle school like?
I mean, it was pretty much the same until I got to high school. Like, I went to the same school from like kindergarten through 8th grade.
Okay.
Which is what I would count as like elementary and junior high. I don't know how other people break it up.
Yeah.
But I think there was my 8th grade class. There was like 32 of us total between two classes. And then I went to a high school that had a couple thousand kids, in the student population, which was a bit of a culture shock for me.
Yeah, no shit, I bet.
Well, I mean, it could have been a lot worse because my dad lives up in the Tulsa area, and some of those schools are just massive compared to what I went to. And he tried to talk me into moving up there and staying with him to go to school, finishing out high school. And I even went on a tour of like a Broken Arrow. I was like, there's no fucking way. No, there's too many people here. Like this too crowded. This is too many people. I don't want nothing to do with this. Like, I'm going home. Thanks for asking though.
So if you use one word to describe your family, what would that be?
Let's see, one word. I'd probably say hard scrabble. Just salt of the earth people, just trying to make their way. Nobody looking to tell anybody what to do or how to do it. Just give me the same courtesy, leave me alone.
Yeah.
And that really rubbed off on me. So like I don't care what you do. Do whatever blows your hair back, your skirt up. I don't care. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a very popular, I believe, opinion right now, especially on YouTube. So, all right. So, high school, what was that like?
That was an experience because I played sports up through 9th grade, basketball. I tried my hand at football my freshman year of high school, and it didn't work out great. I broke a finger, like in training camp. Had it set out for like a month, the first month of the season, and by then, like I was a practice team All-American. Let's put it that way. I realized, like, yeah, this is probably the ceiling on my athletic ability. It's time to go find something else to make my way in.
Okay.
And I got started on the debate team and the drama club.
Right.
And I found that I really enjoyed arguing with people about stuff that was completely meaningless to my day-to-day life, and just kind of carried on from there.
Right. So what about after high school? What did you do?
I took a year off in between high school and going to college because I didn't know if I wanted to go, what I wanted to do.
Sure.
Um, and you know, just did a little, you know, working odd jobs here and there, and finally decided after years, like, you know, I should probably go study something. And I went to a local community college for like a year, and I realized, like, oh, you're just having me pay for you to make me do classes I've already taken. Like, it was like, okay, so I'm studying algebra again. I'm studying English composition. Like, I spent 12 years doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I got to pay you to show that I can write? Shouldn't that be like understood? You know, like, if you're at this level, you should be able to do this by now.
Right.
And I could never figure out. It's like, what do I want to sink, you know, 20 grand into studying? You know, 30, 40. And I never found anything that would make the juice quite worth the squeeze. So I went ahead and dropped out and just kept on just working in the area, you know.
Right. So kind of backing it up again, what would you say is the craziest thing you did as a kid?
Probably, I'm going to use the air quotes when I say that I stole, but stealing a truck.
Oh.
I use the air quotes because it was my stepfather's truck, and he and my mother and the rest of my family for the day had gone over to set up and clean up the house that we were moving into. And it was just across town. Like I said, you know, small town living. And I was at the house and I was bored, and they're like, well, you can just come on over, you know. You just walk over and come be over here with us while we do this, finish up. It's like, yeah, I don't feel like walking. It's like, I think I'll take the truck. And they laughed it off, like, yeah, whatever, okay. What they didn't think about was they had left the keys to the truck. And I took the laughter as you won't do it, you pussy. So, yeah, I drove across town. I ended up passing a cop, which nearly made me shit myself, thinking, like, all right, because I was, I think I was 12 or 13.
Crazy.
And, like, sitting at a four-way stop, about to go, and the cop pulls up at the left side, you know, of the intersection, and he waves, because I guess he recognized the truck. He knew my stepdad or something. And I just kind of wave, and he drives by, and okay, that happened. Just keep on going. And the best part was pulling into the driveway at the house where they were at. I heard, before I even got out of the truck, you know, summertime, had the windows down, I hear my mom, like, telling her husband, like, you're going to kill your son. Why? He just pulled up in your truck.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was great because, you know, they all came out. You know, I'm sitting there, you know, parked real nice in the driveway. Never driven before in my life. You know, made it across town all in one piece, and sitting there in the parking, you know, space. And the best part was, like, you know, they grounded me for 6 months, and then he made me drive him home. I was like, kind of sending mixed signals here, you know.
Right.
It's like, am I in trouble or am I your chauffeur? What's the deal here?
Make your mind up.
Yeah. But I mean, there was always, you know, like, I always say that, like, you know, my childhood, you had your corporal punishment, but you also had, like, psychological punishment too.
Mm.
Like, my mom would have been great being like Army psyops or something, just fucking with people's heads.
Just wait till your father gets home.
Well, no, like, that was the best part. That was the best part too.
No.
The best part about that was, like, if I got in trouble at school, like, I would get my ass busted at school because, you know, they still had paddlings when I was growing up. And then I would get sent home, and my mom would bust my ass when I got home from school, which she had arthritis, so she used a belt and she would step up like it was like she was calling her shot like Babe Ruth, stepping up to the plate every time she had to bust one of our asses with that belt. She was taking practice swings, and she was, she was stepping into it, turning the hip, and she was getting the full, yeah.
Man.
But then, like 2 weeks later, like I'd go to my dad's for the weekend, and it's like, so I heard such and such happened. Like that was like a week and a half ago, man, and I get my ass busted again. So like that's why I wasn't too much of a class clown growing up.
I got you.
I knew I was gonna get my ass beat like 3 different times. So
it wasn't worth it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like I said, the juice was never worth the squeeze.
No shit. So so what about? Do you plan on going to your 20-year class reunion?
No. I didn't like those assholes when I was in school with them. Why would I want to go see them 20 years later?
I heard that, man.
Most of my friends graduated like a year or two before me anyway, so like it would be kind of weird. Like a few of them did have a reunion a couple years back, and I went to that and I was like, so this is it. This is what a reunion looks like,
right?
Looks like a bunch of people pushing 30 sitting at a Denny's talking about the good old days.
Right. Oh man, that's amazing too. If you think about it, that some, the greatest claim to fame is the shit that happened in high school for some people. The old Al Bundy kind of deal.
Oh yeah. 4 touchdowns in a single game.
In a single
game. I mean, I look back on my high school years, like, yeah, all things considered, not nearly as bad as I thought they were at the time. Could have been better, but definitely could have been worse. Like, right. I remember getting bullied a little bit, because I was, tall, skinny dude in like elementary school and middle school. And by the end of high school, like, people were saying that I was the bully, and I thought that was hilarious. And it had nothing to do with like beating people up. Like I don't think I have ever been in a fight since 7th grade. It was just talking. Like I've been there since the beginning of all this stuff, like the participation trophies and stuff. I remember that starting when I was in like kindergarten, 1st grade.
Right.
And then like the sticks and stones went out the window by the time I was in high school, and they were saying like, oh yeah, words can hurt you. I was like, bullshit. Like, me telling this guy he's a dummy doesn't compare to him punching me in the face.
This is amazing. All right. So all right. Growing up with this, so perceptually, what was that like, man?
Oh, I mean, I rejected it from the very beginning. Because it was at kindergarten, we had like the last day of school, they did like a little track meet kind of thing. And I remember participating in one of the little dash races, like 50-yard, something dash. And I think I came in 4th, because there was always at least 2 or 3 guys faster than me. And they, you see the first place got a blue ribbon, and second place got like a white ribbon, and third place got a red one. And then they try to give like me and all the other guys that were in it, these light blue ribbons for participation. I was like I didn't win. I don't want this.
Right.
Like, you only want a trophy if you won. You don't want one for showing up.
Right. The honorable
and
mention.
like the best one was like my junior year of high school. I got in trouble for my U.S. history class. It was pretty well divided, like 50% roughly guys and girls, and like all the girls were pretty well on track, had their heads screwed on right, good grades, honor students and whatnot. I think like a few of them got academic scholarships and everything. And then the other half, you had the boys. All but 2 of us were some kind of jock. And I say that because not only were they in athletics, but they had the jock personality. Like one guy, he was on the golf team, but he was a jock.
Right.
And so like they were sitting on like one side of the room, the girls are on the other side of the room, and then me and the other dude that didn't play any sports were like the no man's land in the middle. And you'd have these discussions pop off, because in my school, all the social studies were taught by coaches. And so you could kill 50 minutes of a 55-minute class talking about Sports Center or, something else.
Just keep them focused on something else.
Exactly. And the one that we had for U.S. history, you could do that with him, with sports or politics. And I would always make fun of the jocks because they weren't. It's not that necessarily they had bad opinions; they just weren't thought out at all. They were jumping to conclusions and whatnot, and a lot of stuff. It was just machismo bullshit that you couldn't back up with any logical consistency.
Right.
And being on the debate team, I was just running circles around them, and it frustrated them. And it amused my teacher, I'm sure, because he let me keep going for all year.
Right.
And one day he was out, and we had this substitute teacher, and she was a little old hippie Asian lady. I swear, I think she was from San Francisco. I remember her talking about being there. Like, she talked about being at Haight Ashbury and shit.
Right.
And so because the coach wasn't there, one day I got this one football player riled up, and he called me a bundle of sticks.
Mm.
And she sent him to the office, and he told his story of woe to one of the vice principals, and she just so happened to be married to the athletic director. So I get called down to the office, and I'm thinking, all right, she's going to make this dude apologize for, salty language or whatnot. And she starts reading me the riot act about how I've been bullying him and his friends all year. And before I could even think about it, I just looked at her and said, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And so I got like a week of in-school suspension for that.
Snap. No shit.
Yeah. I was like, me bullying him? What? Like, excuse me, ma'am, I don't think you're using that word properly.
No doubt.
But if it had been like the principal, I'd have been able to moonwalk right out the door. Like, he loved me. He loved winners. And the football team didn't win nearly as much as the debate team.
Well, and that's something for the school to be proud of, right?
Yeah.
All right, I got a question. All right, so describe your. Do you remember the first time you got an erection?
First time I got one. No, I can't say that I remember the first time I get an erection. I remember probably around the time that I started getting them like regularly. It's about 12 to 13.
Okay. What was that? Do you remember the stimulus?
Yeah, I don't remember what started it off as like, oh, so that they weren't bullshitting, because I learned about sex when I was like 7.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. My mom was pregnant with my youngest sister. And at 7 years old, finally start putting 2 and 2 together, and just ask the question, where do babies come from? And I guess, I don't know if it was pregnancy brain or what, but she decided to go ahead and just lay it all out there. It's like, oh, okay.
Thanks, Mom.
And then like 5 years later, it's like, oh, she wasn't bullshitting. That thing works. Okay, cool.
Right. So what about the first time you were with a girl, like sexually?
Oh, that was high school. I was a late bloomer. I think I was like a sophomore, and the only reason why it's memorable is because it was so damn uncomfortable. Like I'm like 6'2", and I think this girl was like, she's like 5'11". She was a tall girl. I like them tall brunettes.
And indeed, Blakey.
She was a couple years older, and she was driving. It wasn't like a Chevy S10. It was like the GMC version.
Okay.
A Sonoma. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a GMC Sonoma. And start getting hot and heavy in the cab of that, and there's just no room to move around.
Not even on a bench seat?
Yeah, not even. Like,
so yeah. You're
And so it was awkward, and it was like the middle of December. So it was cold out.
Oh, dude! So you couldn't get in the bed of the truck, right?
Just nervous because you're sitting out here in the middle of the night. The windows are all fogged up. Like, what if somebody drives by and starts asking questions? I didn't know what I was doing, what I was supposed to be doing. You know the mechanics, but you don't quite know how to put them together until someone shows you.
Right. Have you been through many
And
relationships?
um, relationships, no, I probably a handful. Um, I, I'm a genuine asshole, and not everyone can put up with that. And so I'm fairly lucky with the girlfriend I got because she just she'll roll her eyes at me and she'll give it back or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people just get hurt and
Well, how'd
like,
you meet
oh,
her?
you were mean to me. I was like, no, that's I'm one of those people that I'll have people ask me, what's wrong? Nothing. Well, you look sad. That's just my face. Thank you. Carry on.
Right.
Or you look mad. I always tell you look like you're angry. No. Nope,
so you say your current girlfriend, are y'all living together?
Yeah. We've been together 6 years now.
Yeah. How'd y'all meet?
Mutual friend. Somebody I went to high school with that she had known for a while. Since then, we haven't really even talked to the mutual friend anymore. It's just been kind of once we got together, we just kind of did our own thing.
Right. Good, man. Let's see. With that, let's back it up 1 second, okay? And I do need to ask you this, okay? So do you think you guys will get married? And what about kids? Do you see any kids in your future?
No marriage, no kids. That's one of the reasons why we managed to stay together as long as we have. Like I put that right up front. It's like I mean, I don't see the point of getting the state involved, having a contract and whatnot. And I didn't like kids when I was one, so I've always kind of known that was not in the cards for me.
Right.
Now, I mean, I've always maintained it's like kids are people. They're just little people. Some of them are cool, some of them are shitbags. You can't tell until you meet them. Right. And I knew that as irresponsible and stuff as I was growing up, like I probably shouldn't be responsible for another living, breathing human.
Okay. Well, so all right, so let's kind of shift gears here and then just talk about entertainment stuff. Like what was the first album you ever owned? Do you remember musically?
The first one I laid claim to was my mom's AC/DC Back in Black CD. I remember snagging that one from her. That was probably mid-90s.
Right.
Yeah. And so I always kind of gravitated towards classic rock and 70s, 80s, and the 90s.
You have a guilty pleasure?
Guilty pleasure. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, something that I would have to feel guilty about enjoying, and I'm pretty well like if I like something, I like it, and I make no apologies for it.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's shift gears and move on. What about the horror films? You talked earlier about getting your fill in October. What's your favorite horror movie? Who's your favorite director?
I'd probably say Wes Craven. I mean, with Nightmare on Elm Street, Scream, all those goodies. Probably my favorite one would have to be. I don't know if anybody ever picks this one, but I loved Scream 3 because I love the meta kind of commentary on the industry and everything.
They're all good, actually. There's not a shitty one, I don't think.
Well, I don't know if anybody that's a Scream fan necessarily points to that one as like their favorite as a horror movie or favorite movie in a series or anything like that in general. But I've always kind of leaned towards more meta commentary and stuff like that.
Sure.
Or a New Nightmare. That was a good. I like that one too. But my mom made the mistake of letting me watch like Nightmare on Elm Street when I was a very, very young boy. And I think I jumped into my bed every night from the time I saw that movie until I was probably 12 or 13. just because of that fear of like him being under the bed. And I love that feeling. That kind of nervous exhilaration of like, man, is a hand going to reach out from my bed and grab me? You know, when I go to sleep.
No doubt. Yeah, I could imagine. I remember reading the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers book when I was a teenager, and man, I was terrified of going to sleep. You know, and I'm like, you know, I'm a teenager, you know, so I can rationalize that what I just read was fiction, right? But it was really well done. It's a good book. Excuse me, I had to wet my whistle there. So talk about horror. Let's see. What about, do you read? Are you a horror reader?
Not so much. For me, that was always more of a visual medium than a written one. You know, because you get the ambient noises, you get some of the tells with like the jump scares and whatnot. You know, you get the eerie music playing to let you know that, oh, you should be feeling tense right about now. With reading, I tend to go more towards like nonfiction or maybe historical fiction. I love reading like the special operations military stories.
Yeah.
That's always good for, you know, some dark comedy, as well as, you know, like hearing about, you know, gunfights and explosions and whatnot. Some of those guys have great, hilarious stories that are just kind of like I said, dark.
Right.
Probably my favorite one to tell people would be one of the guys that he wrote a book like right after the Bin Laden raid. And, you know, was one of the guys that was on it, and he wrote about them doing some kind of training in Miami, and they were clearing out this old abandoned hotel for their training. And in one of the rooms, they found a giant black double dong.
Ooh.
And they dubbed it the Staff of Power. And they would go around taking photos of this thing coiled up in people's gear and whatnot, like a snake. Like, you know, you might find a picture of a Polaroid in your gas mask with just this giant, you know,
yeah,
you know, just coiled up in it. And he's talking about how he was in the team room one day, just munching down on some not graham crackers, animal crackers.
So was he like a SEAL member?
Yeah, as a SEAL Team 6
SEAL
member.
guy? All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said he's about halfway down the box of this deal of animal crackers, and he feels a Polaroid, and he pulls it out, and he sees it, and he's like, to this day, I still can't eat animal crackers.
That's funny.
I was like, yeah, I wouldn't be able to either, man. Shit.
No doubt, man. The double dong of death. All right, so what about sci-fi? You got any sci-fi films you're into?
I read one again. This it's a kind of a historical fiction. It's called Space by, I think his name's James Mincher. It's a novel.
Tell me what it's about. Can you give me a synopsis?
It's a historical fiction about the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union.
Oh yeah.
It starts off at the end of World War II with Operation Paperclip and them going to get the Nazi scientists out of Germany. And it goes all the way through like Sputnik and the moon landing and everything. And it follows this Navy captain who ends up going on to be like a senator on like the space committee. It follows a young boy and girl from being, you know, high school lovers to him being a fighter pilot and later an astronaut, and her being his wife, and some guy working on like the rocket program, you know, who was involved in Paperclip. It's really, you know, I enjoyed it because there's enough of it that it's close enough to reality that I can kind of just sit there and go with it, but also, you know, there's enough fiction in it that it keeps it interesting.
Well, you know, I love that kind of stuff. It sounds like a book I would really dig, man, to be honest with you. Because I'm obsessed with the Cold War, you know. That's kind of the reason I started doing that thing on Mondays with Becca.
Oh yeah, I enjoy those a bunch because that's something we never talked about when I was in school.
Yeah, like, you know, it's like
by the time, like that U.S. history class I told you about earlier, that was an AP U.S. history class, and that class went from pre-colonization to Reconstruction after the Civil War.
Yeah.
It's like that's like, man, that's over 100 years of history.
Well,
that, you know,
and some of the stuff that we had talked about, like, it just been proven. There's a thing where this Chinese businessman is talking to this group of people, like a TED Talk or some shit, right? But it's Chinese, it's Red China, and he's talking about having operatives basically in the government, A, and B, they started in 1992, right after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and picked up right where they were, without the influence and the socialist networks and shit, right?
yeah.
And
That's why I never understood growing up, like why they said we won the Cold War. It's like, well, isn't there still communists?
well, I think we all kind of, I think everybody that grew up during that part thought it was over, because China was just they're very, very imperfect, and they've got problems. There's all kinds of problems, but they had, one thing I was always told is that they had no debt, and I was wondering, why would you tell me that? And today I realize, it's like, I mean, look at what they've done. So, their whole plan has been, just like the Soviet plan was to make the world communist, and they picked up right where the Soviet Union left off. But no, I don't think anybody thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, so like we missed all of that, like in my history class, and luckily for me, I was interested in like World War II and stuff like that, so I had some vague familiarity with it, with the Cold War. Really, for me, it was just like, well, this was the war of the 20th century,
Right.
and I did mainly pay attention to the American aspect of it because American, but as I've gotten older, you start looking more into the Russian side and contribution, everything, and it's like, well, why didn't we hear more about this when I was in school?
Right.
And I can't tell if it was just a concerted effort or just pure laziness.
It's like, I think they started having an influence on the education system. I mean, that's the only way I can explain it, Anyway, that's a different topic for a different day, but I think it's something that needs to be explored, because those are salient points. What about, all right, so what's your favorite video game?
Oh, it depends, really. I bounce around. If I'm playing on PC, I usually like turn-based strategy games. I'll play a lot of like Crusader Kings or Empire Total War. I like games that I can play either single player or multiplayer. That way I don't have to necessarily, like Among Us. I enjoy that game, but unless you have a group of people that are reliable enough to play with, it's not really fun.
Right.
Well, for most of my life, I was a console gamer. I grew up with, I think Super Nintendo was probably my first console. I remember playing my mom's old Atari before that.
Right.
And then, progressed, through like Nintendo 64, and then switched over to PlayStation. And when I got to being at that age where I was playing on PlayStation, it was mostly sports titles, basketball, football, baseball, that kind of stuff. So when I think of console gaming, that's when I think of like playing like college football or Madden,
Right.
If I'm on a PC like now, I mean, I enjoy playing Phasmophobia, but that's another one of those, you got to have people. I refuse to play that game alone.
You will get your ass kicked.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I die about half the time as it is with other people around.
Right. So. Yeah, no shit. So, all right, what about let's think about this. All right, so what's your favorite TV series?
Oh, that would be a toss-up for me. Probably they're both FX series, and it was great because they would pick up like when one ended, the next season or the next lineup they had, for the season change, the next one would come on. It was a Sons of Anarchy and Justified. Those were two good ones I liked.
Oh wow, man! I never got into Justified, man. It looks really good. I'm a big Walton Goggins fan.
Oh, Walton Goggins is great in both of those.
Yeah.
But also,
he's a Bama boy.
I'm blanking on the author's name now, but it's based off of a short story. Elmore Leonard, if I'm not mistaken.
Justified is?
Yeah. It's based off the short story "Fire in the Hole" by Elmore Leonard.
Oh wow!
And they managed to make that last 6 seasons, and it was good. Oh, like the people that they had coming in as supporting characters, the writing, Timothy Oliphant being kind of understated as the marshal, Raylan Givens. It was a great transition from him being Seth Bullock in Deadwood.
I see. Because my dad was a huge fan of that show, and he tried to get me, man, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. And maybe I'll
Deadwood or Justified.
Justified. Both of them actually. I finally saw Deadwood.
So, I remember my dad. Well, because with Deadwood, there was a lot of the people that were bit players on that show end up going to being character actors and stuff on Sons of Anarchy too.
Right. Really,
Dayton Cowley and what's her name?
Robin. What's her last name?
Robin Weigert. Yeah, she was on there.
Yeah.
But also the whore that worked for Swearingen, like one of his.
Oh yeah, Kim Dickens. Yeah, Fear of the Walking Dead. She's an Alabama girl.
Kim Dickens, yes.
Yes, sir.
No, the other one. What's her name? Maureen.
Well, Kim Dickens was on Bama too. I mean, on Sons of Anarchy too.
But the one I'm thinking of, she was in season 3. Kim Dickens was in like season 6 or something.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I those are two shows that I enjoyed the most that I can think of in the past 10, 15 years.
I'm glad I brought that up, man.
I'm looking this chick's name up now because it's going to drive me crazy. Paula Malcolmson, that's the name.
Oh wow, okay, yeah, dude, she's in all kinds. Yeah, she's in all kinds of shit.
Yeah, for me, it's always been like the character actors that I was more fascinated by.
Sure,
than
man.
Like the A-listers.
Well, it's good if they're in it, right?
Yeah.
Because a good actor and a good character actor even can take a mediocre script and kind of push it over the edge and make it really good shit, with timing, and that kind of thing, a nuance. And
but I like Sons of Anarchy just big for the simple fact that it was Hamlet on Harleys.
Yes,
you knew. I mean, if you had any passing familiarity with Hamlet, you knew where the story was going.
Well, yeah, and
the fun of watching was seeing how they got there.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, the whole deal, the father, the ghost of the father being actually just being writings from John Teller and stuff. So that's something. Uzi and I were huge fans of that show, man.
They really did kind of beat you over the head with it for the first few seasons. With the calling him the prince and talking about dead fathers and whatnot.
Well, the first season felt weird. It was like disjointed a little bit. And
they hadn't quite figured out the characters
where they wanted to go.
The actors were still playing them, feeling them out. Yeah. So
yeah,
but
man.
Justified, I love Justified because of like the writing, the way that Walton Goggins had one line, like him and Timothy Oliphant, where they're having a bit of a tussle, and Oliphant keeps knocking him down, and finally he just looks up and he goes, If I can I bring this conversation vertical or what? It's just the way that they would talk, it's poetic,
right?
In a way.
It sounds good, man. I'm gonna have to check it out now. Especially to honor my pop. So
there's a 6 seasons, and the whole reason why I got into it was because of my dad as well. He was an Elmore Leonard fan,
Oh
and
yeah.
he saw that was coming on. He didn't really get into Sons of Anarchy, but Justified. He's like, "Hey, you check this out."
Cool.
And I did after I think the first season. I was like, "Okay, I can get into this." And
Sweet.
I think they switched it out to where it was like they were both on Tuesday nights. You had Sons of Anarchy in the fall, and you had Justified in the spring.
That's right. They
So-
yeah. That was like that was a great era for TV, I thought.
And what I thought was really interesting was like it wasn't until after Sons of Anarchy that, because FX is cable, it's not network. It wasn't until after Sons of Anarchy that they did the People versus O.J. Simpson. It's the first time I ever heard them use the word "fuck" on something that wasn't premium cable like HBO.
Right? Yeah.
And I was sitting there watching it with like my mom because obviously she remembered all the coverage of the OJ trial, and I was I was like 6 years old when it was going on.
Mm.
And so it was kind of fun going back and watching the dramatization of it all.
Well, it's like they
And
would give them
dropped
like
they dropped that F-bomb at the end of the
Yeah.
episode. I was like, wait a second. It's like
they would give them
technology.
one a year, one a season, or one or two. Actually, it's 2 a season. Yeah, it would be always interesting. Even Breaking Bad was the same way, man. They that was part of my fun, was like, when are they going to drop the F-bomb, right? I don't know.
Well,
I'm weird that way, so.
I guess it was shocking to me because it was on FX, and I remember watching FX since I was a kid.
Mm.
I remember watching old reruns of Married with Children when on FX, and so the idea that they were dropping the F-bomb, I was like, wait, that's new. When did they start doing that?
Hey, I need to say hey to JTR Serial Killer on Twitch. There's a couple other people that were watching on Twitch earlier. Hey, what's up? Let's see. D Live, Modem Chronist. Modem Chronist. Okay. Modem Chronist? I don't know. Hi. So, hey to people on D Live and in Twitch. I forgot to say hey. Gamer Valine, greetings. Uzi Q, okay, of course. It's always good to see Jack T. Ripper hanging. Dark Stars 6909, hi. And y'all go ahead and start getting your questions queued up, because we're nearing the end over here. All right, so this is where I ask you, do you have any scars, tattoos, or piercings?
I have a few different scars, but no tattoos or piercings. And the scars are all from my own clumsiness. They're nothing cool,
Nothing. You weren't stabbed in prison.
No, nothing. Nothing.
You didn't get shanked.
Nothing. No stories that are gonna get me laid. It's like, well, I tripped and fell over. Like I've got a scar from when I was a wee baby. After I started teething, and apparently I fell out of bed or something, and my front 2 teeth went through my lip.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So you'd have to be like right up on my mouth to be able to see the faint line from where it's scarred. It's been that long ago.
Yeah.
But that's like the most major scar. So yeah. I've managed, aside from a broken finger, I've lived a pretty charmed life when it comes to scrapes and whatnot. And I should probably, go ahead and
knock that wood, friend.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. All right, so in 40 years, what do you think people will be nostalgic for?
If they're anything like me, they'll be nostalgic for what I am right now, which is, I kind of have that rose-tinted view of like pre-internet life, because I still remember what it was like to walk out of the house without a smartphone and just be off in the ether.
Yeah.
If you made plans with a friend, like you had to actually make plans. Like, okay, I'm going to be here at this time. If I'm not here at this time, meet me at this place this next time. There was no calling ahead. Hey, where you at? Oh, I'm running late. It was, once you walked out of the house, you were gone, man. You were like Kaiser Sose.
Yeah, I remember when like the only people that had beepers were freaking doctors.
Drug dealers.
Before that,
too. Yeah,
it was
them
doctors and shit right first, and then it was like, my coke dealer had a beeper, man. Back in the day, I don't do that shit anymore. I don't advocate it. It's a young man's drug.
It's a rich man's drug. I've never been in a tax bracket.
Robin Williams said it was God's way of telling you made too much money.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never been in a tax bracket where somebody offered me cocaine.
Right? No shit. Exactly, man. So, all right, what's the most useless talent you have?
My stepmother dubbed it EBS. She called it extraneous bullshit. I have a knack for remembering just useless facts and trivia. A lot of it was like movie related when I was growing up because I loved the movies as a kid. And I think that's what people will be nostalgic for right there. Is like quality movies. You know, no more sequels and prequels and reboots. Like, you know, give me. You know, there's nothing new under the sun, but you know, surely you can figure something out, right?
Yeah.
That's your job.
I don't understand. It's like, what happened to creativity, y'all? You know,
too much of a risk these days.
Exactly. If you could know the absolute and total truth to one question, what question would that be?
Man, that's another toss-up. Like, it'd probably be, you know, heads JFK and tails the aliens. You know,
right?
I want to see the files.
We may get that wish
sooner rather than later. Yeah.
Right. Let's see, where am I at? Okay, what job would you suck at?
Oh, mechanically, you know, anything that you would need to be mechanically inclined with, you know.
Okay.
I would not be a good auto mechanic, that's for damn sure.
Right. All right. So, what's your spirit animal, man?
At this point, I'd probably say the camel.
Indeed.
I enjoy the avatar, and
that was kind of a no-brainer. I didn't even think about that.
Well, if not that, then probably just your common house cat, because those lazy bastards have got it made in the shade. I tell you.
What Uzi says.
Heaven is, you know, being reincarnated as a house cat. I'm convinced.
Or a dog. A spoiled dog.
Well,
you know.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like a house cat, you can just lay around and nobody expects nothing from you.
Nothing.
They just bring your food. They make sure they clean up your shit after you.
Exactly.
You know, it's like having a slave. That's what I imagine being a house cat's like. It's like having slaves.
Yes. I don't know what these things are, but they are at my bidding, and I love it. All right, so this is the point where we do what's called the Lipton questions.
Oh, I love the Inside the Actor Studio.
Yes, in honor of James Lipton, who passed away, I think in January, I want to say. I started doing this because he does it in every episode. And man, those episodes are still available. And I highly recommend it. Just to go ahead.
Some of them are gold too. Like, even though Kevin Spacey's a rapey bastard, like the one he did, that was hilarious.
Yeah, when he's doing his
doing impressions.
Yeah, man, he's funny as shit. Even like Tom Cruise and stuff. I mean, some of those like, get real heady and stuff. You know. So yeah. All right. So what's your favorite word?
Probably no.
What's your least favorite word?
Same word, but when people are telling it to me.
What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Probably be having a space to just try and be funny with no recriminations. You know, it's like the Patrice O'Neill bit, you know, like a funny joke and an unfunny joke, they all come from the same place. It's the attempt at being funny. And, you know, maybe I make a joke that's bad just because it sucked. Okay. You know, maybe I make a joke that you didn't like because you thought it was too, you know, ist or phobic or yada yada. It's all it's all coming from the same place as any other joke. It's just trying to make somebody laugh. So if I'm somewhere where I know I have the freedom to do that, yeah, that works for me.
Richo says, I just got an ad for shaving my balls. Cheers, IRATE Prostate. Yeah, man, I know. We're doing ads on this channel. Who'd have thunk it? All right. So we're still like, boom. What turns you off?
Trying to think. I'm not crazy about like a lot of people. Congested spaces, cramped.
Right.
People stacked on top of each other just feels claustrophobic to me, even if it's a wide open space. If there's that's why I don't go to like many live events or like that. There's just too many people.
All right. So what's your favorite curse word?
Fuck. Fuck is a good one. There's such a, you can use it as a noun, as a verb. I use it as a comma from time to time. It's
the applications
great, man. It's very versatile.
Yes, the applications are infinite.
I mean, fuck you, you fucking fuck. If that's not a great line, I don't know what.
How about this one? Fucking fuck, that motherfucker fucking got fucked up.
Exactly. Yeah.
I literally heard that one night. I did say that. It was like, that was great. And it's to this day, I just relived that moment. And marijuana. Just saying. Or what sound or noise do you hate?
Sirens. It drives my dogs crazy, and that in turn drives me crazy.
What sound or noise do you love?
I love the sound of somebody laughing at a joke they know they shouldn't be laughing at.
Nice. Yes, yes. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
It would have to be something solitary. I'd probably say something like woodworking. Like maybe crafting furniture or something for, build to order, something like that. Work with my hand, not have to deal with people on a large scale.
I hear you. So this is the time where I needed to remind the chat who I like, the most happening chat on the planet, in my opinion. It's time to queue up your questions for the Mr. Hate Camel, and make sure you put
1 second to step away. I'm sorry.
Question marks.
1 second, man.
Sure.
I'll be right back.
All right, man. Hey, man. While we take this brief break, this is IRATE Prostate. That's right. Tune in tomorrow to see Extra Credit with Becca Fairley. Extra Credit from the Gulag. We're going to be looking at communism, because communism sucks and it needs to be crapped on as much as possible, and it needs to be exposed as much as possible too. And so this show does that every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's right. On that drive home in the afternoon. That's perfect. You get out of work, listen to us shit on communism and expose it for the pestilence that it really is. Just saying. And we're hoping that Hate Camel's house is not on fire, and that he has not fallen in a toilet or anything. So let's see. let's look at the chat for a minute. Let's see. Did I miss anybody? I thought I saw. Let's see. Let me look. It's the Adamantine. I don't know if I said hey to you. Well, hey. Check your logic. Hey. Moonbase Radio. Hey. Base Spoiler. Hey. Mr. Scott J87. Hey. Let's see. Boom, boom, boom. I said hey to Gamer Bernie. I remember that. So
you're seeing a lot of familiar faces in chat.
Indeed. All right. So we got a couple more of these questions before we get to the people, to the chat questions. All right. What profession would you not like to try? We're not near at the end. Hate.
I would not want a job where I had to be responsible for other people. Like management of some sort. Middle management. Those always seem like the least enticing jobs to me. It's like, oh yeah, you make a little bit more money, but now you got to be responsible for all these assholes and their job too.
So, all right. So, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say to you when you arrive at the gates?
Yep, late as usual.
That implies that you've dodged some bullets, man. All right. So, all right. This is the point where we start asking the questions, and I've got them up here. Let's see. Are you saying orgies don't appeal to you? Hey, Camel.
No, if there's more than one penis involved, I'm not going.
I heard that, man. Do you have any odd collections? Becca will always ask.
Odd collections?
Like pubic hairs or used tampons, anything like that?
I mean, aside from the near menagerie of animals I've got here, I would say I don't have a collection of anything.
Oh, so you collect critters, man. That's pretty cool. I love animals, man.
Yeah, only like 2 or 3 of them were actually planned, though. The rest just kind of got dumped on us over the years. Doesn't mean I love them any less. It's just shit,
Terry wants to know how the Laundry Channel is going.
I'm sorry?
Johnny Hellcat. Terry wants to know how the Laundry Channel is going.
That's because he's still under the impression that I'm Jack Cochran, and I can't disabuse him of that notion for some reason.
Is Johnny fucking with you, do you think?
Yes, they are. That's been the running joke.
Johnny Hellcat would not have the tendency to not fuck with you, would you? I mean, it's like you are practically gay lovers. Who's the top?
Oh, definitely me.
All right. That's what I thought, man. Well, we still the guy that's not here. Mr. Scott J87 asks, what system had the better football games, SNES or Sega?
I didn't really play football games on either, but like with Super Nintendo and Sega, for me that was Sega. I only really remember playing like Sonic on, and Super Nintendo for me that was like Mario and Street Fighter, and a couple other games. I didn't play a whole lot of games on either one of those systems, but the ones I did play, I played a lot of. Did
you ever play Zombies Ate My Neighbors?
No.
Dude, that's a fun game. I love that game. I still try to find a version of it so I can emulate it. So if y'all find it, DM me that shit because I love that game. I'm out on that shit hours.
I still have the Super Nintendo. It's just not plugged in. You know, for some reason that thing that was manufactured in like the late 80s, early 90s, that still holds up, but like all my PlayStations have broken down. So
that is an interesting,
just because it still works. It's like, yeah. And you can find cartridges for that pretty cheap, if that's your thing.
Right. Let's see. Do you collect bad jokes? Mr. Scott asks.
Do I play what?
Bad jokes. That sounded like a jab, dude. Yeah. Do you collect bad jokes? I'd be offended if I were
there. Well, no, because there was a time when Shia Gorath and I were going back and forth in the Lords of the Night chat with all of our just horrible, bad jokes, and that was kind of a thrill when I was first in chat, hearing Monkey, like, he would be like, he would start kind of laughing, or he would preface it by saying, that's horrible, and then reading the joke. My favorite one, I think I got him to say was why is it so hard to break up with a Japanese chick? You gotta drop the bomb twice before they get the hint.
Damn, Lordy. Let's see. Where are we? Boom. So, Camel, my house is haunted. Which kind of sage would you recommend? Richo asks.
Whichever one they've got on Phasmophobia. I'm not that kind of Indian. As far as I know, the Choctaws don't have any ghost hunting specific sage.
Right. Hey, Campbell, do you think squirrels are food or annoying? Spittlebuggies axe.
The answer to the first question, I guess, all depends on how hungry you are, and the second one is yes.
If you could upset a celebrity, who would it be and why? That's a good question, Trippy. I like that.
If I could upset a celebrity?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'd
probably go with Ron Perlman if I had to pick one.
Yeah, I'm going with the Alyssa Milano.
I think I could make her.
Man,
cry
Ron Perlman in one hand. I mean, that's almost like an even swap, right?
Yeah, well, for me, it was Ron Perlman because when I first got on Twitter, it was one of those things like, don't meet your heroes. Because,
no shit, man. Loved him on Sons of Anarchy was so good.
Well, I mean, he's been in a bunch of stuff. He was one of those
actors,
man. Hellboy and was it Alien?
Yes.
Blade 2. Like my stepmother loved him in Beauty and the Beast.
Yep. A bunch of Del Toro shit, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, when I got on Twitter and I started following, like, I followed these different celebrities not because I cared about what they thought. I figured they'd be promoting stuff, like a new movie or TV show or, see me at this place. A lot of the Sons of Anarchy cast were doing, like, Comic-Cons and stuff like that at the time. And so I thought that'd be cool. And then I just, I'm reading about him, pissing on his hands before shaking Harvey Weinstein's hands. Like, why would you tell the public this? How is that in any way a good thing?
And is he really gay, or is just the shit that he says? I don't know. Is he trying to be hyperbolic about sucking a man's asshole empty?
I have no idea.
That was just he said some gross shit, man.
Again, like it's another thing, I don't care what you get up to in your own personal life. Just
hey, man, exactly, dude. Me. It's like just do your fucking job and shut the fuck up about your politics. I don't know. I don't want to know. If I wanted to know, I would ask you.
Yeah, and that's why I will forever stand Kurt Russell.
Yeah, man.
That man knows what's what. Like, this is a job. I'm here to
and McConaughey,
do it. Leave me the
man.
fuck alone.
McConaughey.
And Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm an actor. Like,
see, you don't know, Kevin Bacon's politics because he don't fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's too busy making good movies, man.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. Like, he was saying, like, somebody asked him about, like, why were you in that movie? He's like, because I'm an actor. It's my job.
It's
gotta pay the bills.
What I do, man. That's right. Let's see. Trippycast says, IRATE prostate. I'd really love to upset a ton of celebrities. And yes, Alyssa Milano is on the top choice. Her and Trevor Noah. Well, you can have Trevor Noah, man.
Don't get me wrong. There's a ton of them I could pick. I could pick out of a hat. Like Mark Ruffalo. That's another good one.
Oh, dude, fuck that guy. Indeed, we totally concur on this shit.
Trevor Noah is horrible, but I think I would have a better time upsetting John Oliver than Trevor Noah.
John Oliver's like been funny 2 or 3 times. Trevor Noah's never been funny.
Yeah, but at the same time, it seems like people actually take John Oliver's show more seriously than Trevor Noah in The Daily Show. I don't know. Maybe it's because he's on a premium network.
He's a fucking
And he would cover stuff. There was one. He was like a civil asset forfeiture. He's covering like legit stuff, but he's also a left-wing comedy hack.
Yeah, well, see, man, it's like,
I'm
willing to look at that forfeiture shit because I think it's, we don't need it no more.
Well, also he hides behind the same kind of veil that John Stewart did. It's like, you know, once he starts getting serious and you start taking him seriously, then they pull us back. It's like, oh, I'm a comedian.
Right.
It's like, well, you can't have it both ways.
It's like, yeah, it's like telling your wife she's fat and that she doesn't have a sense of humor when she gets upset. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's you know, it's the having your cake and eating it too. It's like,
right.
are you
yeah,
doing
you can't
some serious
take a joke,
journalism?
Man. Yeah, exactly.
Are you doing some serious journalism here where you're trying to expose something that we should all be knowing about? Or are you telling dick jokes?
Exactly. Because what's that old saying? You can't piss down my leg and tell me it's raining.
Yeah.
You know. All right, so I got a couple of questions, and then we are done, my man.
Okay.
It's almost right in an hour and a half, man. That's been a great show. You've been awesome. I appreciate it. I really am grateful for you and everybody that has done this show with me. This is like my flagship. I love this show, and it's the family's getting big, and I got another plan. I wanted to talk about later to people. So, but not today, not now. But all right. So who would you? Let's talk about YouTube. All right, we'll kind of bring it back to YouTube. Who would you say is a criminally undersubscribed YouTuber that you want to promote? Somebody, you
know. For me, the one that I always think about as being criminally undersubbed would be Scribelight. That dude does some great stuff, and I don't get to sit around and watch it nearly as much as I would like to. But then again, the stuff that he's covering is also, you know, kind of like, you can't sit there and watch it for too long, otherwise you will go crazy. So, I mean, he's criminally undersubbed, but at the same time, like, you know, it's one of those things, you know, moderation and all things.
He is without a doubt the top person that people say. You know,
well,
I mean, I've heard a whole variety of people, but his name keeps popping up. So, a lot of people agree with you, and I do too, to be honest. So, who do you think is way overhyped?
Way overhyped. There's so many of them. I mean, like, I don't understand why anybody watches Philip DeFranco. Can't for the life of me figure out.
You beautiful bastard.
Yeah, it's like, I watched him like around 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
You know, for maybe a year.
Right.
And then I got to the point where I was online enough where I was spotting the stuff he was going to talk about before he ever did.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't need that middleman, dude. I've already got the content. You know, I don't need that extra filter.
What do you think will finally break the internet?
It would have to be something huge. I mean, Kim Kardashian's ass didn't do it, so it's going to have to be something monumental, something just completely life-changing, world-shifting. It's going to have to be the aliens, probably. You know.
Maybe, yeah. So, all right, now this time for you, talk about you and your content for a moment. Do you have anything new that's coming up? Something you got in the works that's talk about your what you do, and then anything else that you got planned coming up.
Oh man, I don't have any. It's like that line from The Dark Knight, man. I'm just a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. Really, anything I'm going to be doing is going to be on Johnny's channel. So if you liked what you heard today, go subscribe to Johnny Hellcat. I mean, we got a Discord that we play, you know, video games in and stuff. But really, there's nothing that I feel, you know, strongly enough about that I want to start making content about it. Really, I'm just another example that any asshole with an interconnection can spout off at the mouth and get away with it.
Exactly.
And that's the great and horrible thing about the internet. You know.
Yeah. I need your. I didn't get any of your links, and I'll put them in when after the show. Okay.
Oh well, I mean, aside from my Twitter account and the Discord, I have no links. Like I said, you know, I've been doing this for 3 years. I had never thought about monetizing because I mean, I don't feel like I'm offering anybody anything that's monetizable. So
You don't think so?
I mean, maybe if I did something more consistently, you know, if I streamed more regularly, or if I was actually making some kind of video content, maybe. But you know, so far it's just, you know, hey, we can get together at this time. You know, Johnny and I don't really plan stuff out in advance either. It's kind of like, hey, I'm off work. You doing anything? No. You want to stream? All right. What are we gonna talk about? I don't know. Or occasionally we find one of those bad stand-up comedy deals. And it's like, okay, who can we find to spring this on?
That's cool.
That's been fun. It's been a lot of fun for me because I love watching people who are uncomfortable.
Well, I
love people watching. I love watching people squirm. And Johnny and I will watch one of those stand-up specials once or twice before we ever show it to somebody else. And so that reaction to that first reaction they have of just seeing Nanette or Sarah Cooper or one of these other just unfunny people.
Oh yeah,
who are punching way above their weight class when it comes to,
well, you know,
like an hour stand-up special.
Belushi said famously that women just weren't funny, and you know, it's like he's got an argument there. But I know some women that are funny, right?
Yeah. Well, no, like the joke when we got into it and started doing it regularly, it was like, can we find a funny woman? And we both could think of funny comedians off the top of our heads, but none of these people were being put in these lists. We started off with like a New York Times list of summer stand-up specials that, you know, you should watch, and in what order. And they had Nanette, Hannah Gadsby's Nanette, as being the top of the list. You know, this is the revolution in comedy that we've been waiting for. And so whenever I see those kind of articles where they're blowing that kind of smoke, it's like, all right, how much fire is there? And there's none. It's all smoke. And it's always fun to, like, the last one we did was Sarah Cooper, Everything's Fine, which is a Netflix special, and we got Polydub to watch it with us, and he still hasn't forgiven us.
He tortured his ass. That's funny. Speaking of Polydub, yeah, I'm going to be on with he and Richo on Becca Fairley's channel, doing her Sunday night thing. I think it's called Yeeting the Sheep or some shit like that. I'm just kidding, Becca. She's going to kill me. But all right, so before we part, it's you've kind of shielded your channel. You shield Johnny's channel.
Yeah. Anytime that somebody asks me if I got anything to show, I always point to him. It's like, he's the one running all that shit. I click the link and show up. So
hey, Poppy. That's right. So yeah, if you want to take a minute and say hey and bye to the chat, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah, like I'm seeing a bunch of our pals, our mutuals here. You know, Richo and Addie and Mr. Scott. Good seeing you guys coming out. Seeing some of the minions with Poppy and everything. It's cool seeing all you guys here.
Skep was here.
Skep was here. I'm glad I did this, and I didn't let the anxiety get the better of me about it.
Well, good, man. I'm glad you rolled the dice too, because it's like, you know, I'm a sure thing. It's surely to be. It's never boring, and usually the time goes by really, really fast. So I don't know if that's the case it is for you, but it was definitely for me today. So, and that usually means it's a good show. And on that note, let's go ahead and say goodbye to people, and then I'll hang out with you for a minute before we leave. All right, man.
All right.
So say bye.
Bye, everybody.
thank everybody for coming. It was awesome. Thank y'all. See ya tonight and tomorrow, of course. Becca and I will be doing that extra credit.